Hello, everybody. So, I'm in possibly China, or at least they cut something that looks like China, and may or may not be, communist state. But while I'm here, I'm going to talk about a movie that I finally got around to watching several years late. I am your source for up-to-the-date movie reviews and thoughts for a movie that came out like 4 or 5 years ago now. I'm talking about Kung Fu Panda, the third one. Now, the TV series, or another TV series, or whatever else they were doing with this thing, or the little mini-movie they keep putting on the end of every disc when it goes to video. I'm talking about Kung Fu Panda 3. So, before I talk about that film, I'm going to talk about sequels in general, and what makes a good sequel, a good follow-up in general. You got your first movie. Things work. It's successful. People like it. You get given money to make another one. Hopefully, you have an idea for an actual plot to make a second one, and maybe your first film was designed to even have sequels. Kung Fu Panda 2, I will say, pretty good follow-up. Takes what works from the first movie, ups the game, drops what doesn't work, improves upon things, escalates the stakes in a natural way, keep character progression that happened, and you get a good sequel. You get an elevated sequel, I would even consider it. It's one of the better second movies in your CGI kid film franchises. Admittedly, that's not a high bar, but it is one of the better ones out there, period. So, for example, and so I'm going to refer to the Kung Fu Panda 2 while I talk about 3, because 3 is a perfect example of a extremely weak, regressive follow-up to a successful movie, to a successful sequel, and to the first movie in general. It is the weakest part of this entire set of movies. It retreads the first movie really bad. It retroactively undoes things and retcons stuff in the bad way. I don't mind retcons in theory, but when they hurt the original thing and are not an improvement upon what you're doing or even interesting, they're bad. Admittedly, some of the retcons in this are actually more funny than anything else, but it's in the kind of like, oh, well, that makes that character an asshole kind of funny, and not the ha 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 funny. So we'll start at the beginning here. It's Kung Fu Panda 3. Jack Black is back as Po, the big boy panda, and we are allegedly following up from the teasy cliffhanger-ish thing that happened at the end of the second movie, where we saw, spoiler by the way, for a movie for many years ago now, there was actually an entire village of pandas, and he wasn't the only one. So hey, surprise! There's more pandas around, even though he was supposed to be the only one left, because the villain from the second movie literally murdered them all in a genocide to stay in power. For kids. Speaking of villains, so this one picks up. We have our new villain, Kai, who is a big, muscly, likely smelly bison man thing who steals people's chi, their souls, and turns them into little jade trinkets he keeps on a belt around his likely extremely moist and musky crotchal region on it. So yeah, there's a lot of I'm gonna call this furry bait going on with him. Very pointed towards me. He's huge, he's smelly, he turns people into inanimate objects and keeps them near his crotch. I could have cooked this character up, honestly. Unfortunately, this character has nothing to him beyond being kink bait. And the kink bait was probably not intentional, honestly. Well, it's always hard to tell with kids' things, but anyways. That's all he has going for him. Kung Fu Panda 1, Tai Lung, whatever. The Tiger Man. Not the most developed villain, but he was a threat. He was at least interesting. He had his backstory tied in pretty good with Shifu, Poe's little red panda teacher man in this. It worked out. It made sense. Kung Fu Panda 1 was not a complicated film. It was a kung fu action movie, just happened to be a cartoon and have a very large panda version of Jack Black as the lead. It works fine. It's good. Has some pretty good action scenes. It's fun. Second movie elevated the game. Had and improved upon the villain in a massive way to where the villain is actually the best part of the movie. And because I am me, I can't remember what their name is. One sec. I am going to take the drastic step of looking up their name. That's why, because I actually did like that movie, so I will actually check. One moment. Shin. Lord Shin. A very angry peacock man. He's a good villain. He is actually a well-developed villain. He has motivations. The stakes are raised. They go to the trouble of developing him pretty well. Dude murdered his parents. Became a feudal lord. Does a genocide, stay in power. For kids. There's a lot happening with the character, and he's actually well-developed and actually decently sympathetic. They do the work of making a good villain in the second Kung Fu Panda movie. That's the sentence I said. Kung Fu Panda 2 is actually a pretty good movie. It has a really good villain. He's the best part of the movie. So Kung Fu Panda 3 drops the ball on the villain entirely. Entire wiries. The villain's not very good. He's a nothing burger. He shows up. He wants revenge. His backstory can be told in about 30 seconds. He's not interesting. He's hot. He's horny. He's fur bait. He's not a good villain. He's just there. He is a threat to be overcome. And not even an interesting one. Poe, Jack Black is back, of course. He's on the title. You expect him to be back for the third one of these. It'd be funny if they do a fourth one. He's not even in it. That'd be kind of funny. He still gets all the credit and gets paid, but he's actually not in the movie at all. Yeah, dude, that'd be funny. So he's back, and there was character growth in between between movie 1 and 2. So apparently at some point Poe may have eaten his character development and shat it out because he's retrograded back to roughly where he was at that kind of midway between the first movie's ending to where he's sometimes confident, sometimes competent, other times not, depending on what the movie wants for the sake of the joke. There's a way to do this. Like, you can have your character still be funny while actually retaining competence and character development and all that jazz. This movie doesn't bother. This movie is actually weirdly more interested in being a generic kids film with lots of wacky side characters doing kind of just generic slapstick jokes and stuff, which I like slapstick, but I'm not here for slapstick now. I was in the first movie. Your second movie told me there were other things I could aim higher. This franchise aimed higher. And now suddenly someone kicked the back end and it's pointing back into the dirt. So all the pratfalls and most of the comedy bits fall flat. The bad slapstick is just generic slapstick that feels like a time waster now. It's not particularly funny. There are a couple of good jokes in here, like some do land. Like the chicken. The chicken master is funny. I got a kick out of that. And someone kicks him. But not very much. Like, I wasn't belly laughing and I wasn't invested anymore because the plot's not very interesting. And the characters have been retrograded or have nothing going on. Furious 5. They had nothing to do and they all get possessed and turned to jade. Zombies. Ooh. Pretty much as soon as the plot can accommodate it, just to get them out of the way so they don't have to do anything with them beyond having them in a fight scene or a background. Tigress, she's here. She kind of is a minor subplot of learning to deal with a child in the background. It's just a side joke thing. So, good use of that character. Then you have the addition of, and actually the big thing that all the movie's advertising was about and what the whole movie revolves around is Poe's Panda tribe family thing going on, to where his real dad shows up. Well, one of his dads. That's a joke. That's actually one of the few jokes that kind of works in this thing. His Panda dad is Bryan Cranston, who is doing his Bryan Cranston thing, as in that this man who has one of the weirdest career trajectories of all time shows up, gets his paycheck, does his job, goes home. No fuss, no muss, not much to talk about there. He's competent, he's fine. Bryan Cranston can be funny as hell. He's not being funny as hell in this, he's just being a sad panda, occasionally sad panda dad. Sad Panda Dad, starring Bryan Cranston. So you have to deal with that, because he's the only one of these pandas that shows up that's actually even a character. Every other panda in the entire village comes off as morons and just space filler extras. So Poe, the threat comes, Poe is unable to stop the threat at all. I'm just gonna call the bad guy. I'm just gonna call Shin the threat now, because that's more direct to what he actually is. The threat. He's not really a character. He's the threat. The threat has shown up. Poe can't deal with it. He has to get. And it turns out, hey, the only way to beat this guy who steals chi is to go learn chi magic, which apparently pandas are well known for doing. Apparently, I don't remember if they mentioned that in the second movie or not. That is I think that is technically one of the retcons on here, kinda. But we'll get to that later. A couple of seconds, actually. So, Poe goes with his panda dad, goes to the panda village. They're all idiots. He has to teach them kung fu because, hey, the threat has followed him there, and oh no! Turns out this village of dumbasses forgot how to do the chi magic. Whoops. Glad we spent 30 minutes just hanging around these doofuses for just doing bad slapstick and nothing exciting. Then the threat shows up, and we get our climax, and we're basically done. The interesting parts of this are the things that are kind of unintentionally funny and just poor decisions in terms of the writing. So, we're going to go into that now. This is spoiler time, but again, this is a movie that came out like 5+ years ago. No one cares with spoilers at this point. So, we start our retcon parade at the very beginning of the movie, actually, in the setup. Remember Shifu, the very nice, kindly old turtle man who set this whole thing in motion and put one of the first movie's morals of anyone can learn kung fu and has potential to be a hero and yada yada yada? Yeah, let's forget that. So it turns out Shifu was involved in a big-ass war thing centuries ago, and his friend was our fur-bait bison man threat dude. They were friends, and Shifu got injured and got taken to the panda village, and they healed him. And unfortunately, the threat decided, like, oh, chi magic. Oh, I can. What if I use that? And if I decide just to become evil for no reason and start stealing souls with that shit for power? So Shifu had to kill his best friend and ditch his ass and dump him in the spirit realm. And he's kind of bitter over that. And yeah, kind of rightfully so. Like, your best friend said, no, you're not allowed to use the magic how you want to, and beats your ass and sticks you in essentially the afterlife for like 500 years. He's in the wrong. He's banging a bad guy, obviously, but Shifu's kind of being a dick about it. Also, we find, and this also causes a massive retcon of Shifu did not pick Poe solely to prove a point and show that anyone could do it, and if he was the best choice in terms of his heart and spirit and yada yada. No, he chose him specifically because he was a panda, and panda has no chi magic. So he knew specifically that if his friend ever got out of the afterlife, netherrealm place, he needed someone very specifically designed to stop him. So yeah, Poe was not picked for the goodness of his heart. He was picked because he was a panda. So, good undoing of your first movie's morals. That said, that does weirdly actually run alongside the kind of murky issue of the first movie had Tai Lung, which was essentially little Shifu's adopted son, essentially, who went bad, and Shifu himself could not bring himself to kill his kid, essentially his child. So he got Po to do it for him. So Shifu, not Shifu. Am I saying the right names? Whatever. The turtle apparently planning to use Po to perform a hit in a few decades, kind of lines up with Little Red Panda Man using Po to kill his son. You know. We also do find out exactly what the Shidoosh thumb grab thing actually does. Turns out that thing just immediately sends you to the afterlife. It just straight up kills you like Thanos. You just go poof into your dead. So yeah, that does confirm Po straight up murdered Tai Lung. So, you know, for kids, they don't mention that beyond the fact like, oh, this worked before, I'm going to use it again. It doesn't work because the threat is a spirit creature, and that thing only works on living. But Po's alive, so he can bear hug him, use it on himself, and take both of them to the afterlife to go have their final fight. So, you know, that's fine. But yeah, this causes issues. But yeah, they go to the afterlife. Po becomes the Dragon Warrior because the pandas all realize, oh, the chi magic is a straight up send support and love and like a palm, like a glowy palm to your friend, and that's how it works. And there's nothing special, no major revelation beyond family. And that lets Po power up into the Dragon Warrior form, which is funny. Like, it gives him a cape and the hat. He looks like he did in that animated intro in the very first movie's, like, gag startup thing. So, you know, I like that. That was a nice nod. And then he has, like, a chi dragon that he's riding in, like, a parade float. It's fun. Silly, but fun. He kills the bad guy completely, like, unexcitingly kills him and just wipes his ass with him, and that's done. He's done. And he comes back to Earth, and we end with everyone was kung fu fighting, because of course we're going to end with that song. Of course we're going to. And at the end of the day, I felt like, well, that felt like a direct-to-DVD or direct-to-VHS Disney animated sequel. That's a bad thing to invoke, honestly. I don't have nostalgia for those things. 99% of them sucked. The third Aladdin movie was fine. Apparently Cinderella 2 is fun, or Cinderella 3 is apparently funny. Every other one? Nope. And yeah, this entire film has the feel of a direct-to-video Disney sequel, animated sequel thing. And that feels like a completely different writing team that was not that aware of what made the first or second movie worked, got brought in, told to do this, and they're kind of like, okay, this kind of like what they did, let's just do this part here and this here, and we're done. Yeah, and then the movie also has weird tonal whiplash of, it feels like that team was there, and then the team from the original movie, from the first set of movies, saw this and went, oh, this has no emotional stakes whatsoever. Let's bring some in and cause tonal whiplash because they're missing for the rest of the movie. So suddenly everything is very serious and sad, and you're like, you know, if the rest of the movie was like this, I might actually care, but it's not. So I don't. And you retroactively made me annoyed by the previous films because you've hurt those films. Yeah. Kung Fu Panda 3 sucks. Sorry. I'm not going to defend it particularly. It's got some funny fur bait. There are a couple of jokes that land. James Hong is still here and being funny as hell. James Hong, delightful. Great duck. Excellent duck. Good wizard, too. Good everything, honestly. Lopan's always cool. But yeah, it's just their major disappointing sequel. Way, way off the mark. You have no reason to see this. Skip it. It's good. If you want more Kung Fu Panda stuff, there's like 3 TV series afterwards. I don't know. I haven't watched them. I honestly don't care. This really don't make me care about them. Apparently, they're planning to make a 4th Kung Fu Panda now. I guess. Whatever. I might watch it in like 4 years after it comes out to the video. That's what I did with this one. Speaking of which, I never got around to seeing Train Your Dragon 3 either. That's bait to watch another video later. Also, like and subscribe. Watch more videos of me talking about movies that I watched like a week ago and barely remember. I only watched this movie because my internet was out, and I had nothing else to fill my time with. Because I live on the internet. I'm an internet cat. We cats just live on the internet, just how we do. We sense the internet when it's nearby, and we must go to it. If I don't have internet, I will just wander away. Wander away. Ooh, a shiny thing. Oh, yeah. Like and subscribe. Patreon. Look at my gallery on Twitter. FA. Itaku. Ink Bunny if you're the brave type. Lots of other places. Later.